We've got a news alert on Tesla. Phil, what's the news?
Melissa, they are now going to be lowering the price of the Model 3 and bringing in two new Model 3s, essentially. You're going to have a Model 3 that will start at $35,000 as the base price. The range, in terms of how far you can drive on the battery pack with that model, will be 220 miles. Let's compare that with the previous low in terms of what they were offering for Model 3, which was 260 miles range for $45,000. So they are bringing down that price point to what Elon Musk has long said, which is $35,000 for the base model, and the range will be 220 miles. They are also offering what they call a Model 3 Standard Range Plus. That'll have a 240-mile range, so you're getting another 20 miles of potential range with the battery pack in that vehicle for $37,000. So that's the big headline here, and we're going to be hopefully getting more details from the company shortly. One last thing, Melissa, the company is also going to be ending any sales transactions that have been taking place at the Tesla Gallerias, and they're throughout the country. You don't see a lot of them, but particularly in some of those more well-to-do areas, shopping centers that cater to the well-to-do. You can go in, maybe you see a Tesla, you've arranged a test drive, and that day you say, yeah, I want to buy this one. In the future, it'll be all online. So those are the pieces of news from Tesla. Again, $35,000 Model 3 with a range of 220 miles. Melissa, back to you.
All right, Phil, thank you. Phil LeBeau with the details. We should remind you that Tesla shares right now are halted, so that after-hours trade, whatever you see, it's not active right now. It closed the day higher by 1.6%. What do you make of this news?
Well, it'd be interesting to see what the margin implications are, right, for this car that's going to be the same car, lower range. What that means, they're not obviously, I think, when did they sell or made 150,000 of them last year? So, you know, I mean, I think it's maybe a little too early, but you want to speculate what that means as they get to production of hundreds of thousands of these cars. This is no news. I don't, you know.
Plus, I think they're going in the wrong direction. You want longer range on these vehicles. There was supposed to be, remember when he said that you're going to get charging stations throughout the entire United States? You don't want shorter charging. You don't want shorter duration in the batteries. You want a longer duration. I'm sure they've done the analysis on this, but I do believe that it's going to hurt their margins. It's going to pull people away from the higher priced ones with the larger margins, and the battery is what you need.
Lower margins, but they could make it up in volume. In theory. I mean, in theory, that's the effect that they're going for, right? They bring down the cost of the car, they sell that many more cars, and they make up for it in terms of total sales.
I didn't think it was a demand issue with Tesla. I thought it was the fact that it was a supply thing, right? So I mean,
I don't know.
This was a
We've
huge.
heard North America's not going so well.
No, but this was the huge story that we were waiting on pins and needles for. I think I'm sort of with Steve on this one. I don't really get the fact. I mean, you could have dropped this at any time during the day. I don't think it was all that big a news. And again, yeah, maybe demand is waning, but for the longest time it's been, listen, everybody wants our car, we just can't make enough of them.
Well, so, you know, if you were reading the tea leaves all day, and a lot of people were doing that, what could this be? Some people thought it was going to be an upgrade to the autonomous system, and hidden price cut or some kind of a price cut. If you knew that they were stopping essentially on all three models, trading on all three models and freezing prices, you got the sense that it was something that was going to involve all models, and it was probably going to be a price cut. So that's kind of what we got. In a world where these announcements have been a little either anticlimactic or frankly untrue, a la funding secured. I think you've got a dynamic here where the market's expectation was probably higher than what was delivered here. The most important thing is, do they have competition that is producing cars at $45,000 to $55,000 that's starting to penetrate?
Do they have competition at $35,000?
No, they don't. They don't. Can they make this car at $35,000? I have to tell you, I still am skeptical, and certainly, as we've all said,
they're selling the car at $35,000.
I'm sorry?
They're selling the car for $35,000. Whether or not they can make it for $35,000.
Well, it's also the base price. I mean, so they're assuming that people
true.
are going to be spending 40 grand or 42 grand, and you know, again, this goes back to that 35 number got etched in people's minds because that is the average cost of an automobile in America, okay? And so then if they wanted to go mass market, that's what they had to do, at least have that conceptually there. But then we lost that subsidy over the last year or so. And so, you know, to me, you still have a car that's way too expensive. I think they pulled forward a lot of demand when they took those 400,000 pre-orders for this thing, remember, over the last year and a half. And I think a lot of people, those dropped off over the last year.
Don't you think, though, this could be indicative of where demand in North America is? And again, Elon has indicated indicated that they're shipping all their production to Europe and to China. And that's great, except for it tells me that North America is not as strong. And if you're cutting prices, aren't you doing that because you're trying to stimulate demand? I know we've never questioned demand, except for the fact that we have started to question demand. And you know, I don't know that they can produce this car at that price.
This is a bigger story than just North America, though. I mean, if they can lower the price point, that gets them into other markets a little bit better, right? In terms of the Chinese
No, but
market,
the tariffs
for
are still really high. I mean, this car is much more expensive in China. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I mean, if they can bring the price down, then the tariffs won't hurt as much. And then eventually, if they get the Shanghai factory up and going, then maybe they can actually make a car that can compete in that market for a lower price point.
Comes down to how is the stock going to trade once this thing is free to trade, which I don't know when that's going to be. But I'll say we said it 2 days ago. The shorts had every opportunity to bludgeon Tesla on Monday or Tuesday. Got down to 290, closed higher on the day. That was their one shot. Now to me, there's risk to the upside. You know, Tim talks about the pain trade being higher in the broader market. I think the pain trade in Tesla is higher as well.
You know, I think the irony is that, you know, Elon Musk theoretically has a Twitter sitter, somebody who monitors all of the tweets before they go out, in theory.
He does?
This week it looks like he took a step backwards on it.
He tweets out yesterday that there's going to be news tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and the stock moves up 5.6% on nothing, on no material information, just a little glimmer of news.
And he jabbed the SEC.
I feel like this is a jab at the SEC.
I think it's a jab at the SEC. I think it starts all over again. And this has been the problem for Tesla. And Guy said it before. We thought it was not a demand issue, it was a supply issue. So all those premises that you made were based on the fact that if they can produce this car in bulk, and we haven't seen any of that, it still seems to me it's smoke and mirrors.
I mean, this strategy is employed by the White House, by the way. I mean, doesn't this feel like we're kind of changing the conversation intentionally and that we're creating a distraction? I think the SEC thing is nuanced. I think actually, also, by the way, if the SEC can be the bad guy and push the mighty Tesla or push Elon Musk to a place where he doesn't want to be, they're an easy scapegoat when, in fact, that's not the problem right now.